It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Friday, March 13th. I'm Mac Watson. A Wyoming windstorm with gusts reported as high as 109 miles per hour has left a trail of destruction across the Cowboy State. Cowboy State Daily's Greg Johnson reports that strong gusts have blown over dozens of commercial trucks, ripped roofs off of buildings, and uprooted trees.
It was sustained winds in the high 50s, low 60 mile per hour with gusts up to 90 here in Cheyenne. They set a record at the airport with a 90 mile per hour gust. There was a 94 mile per hour gust registered at NCAR, which is the supercomputer location. And other reports had come into the National Weather Service over 100, one at 109 out between Laramie and Centennial. The entire stretch of I-80 through Wyoming was closed. I talked to a trucker at a truck stop who is from Alabama, and he had like a deer in the headlights look. He just couldn't believe this type of wind.
For perspective, Category 1 strength hurricanes have sustained winds of between 74 miles an hour and 95 miles per hour. It's being described as a showdown in Crook County as House Speaker Chip Nyman has announced he's running for Senator Ogden Driscoll's Senate seat. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that Driscoll wasn't going to run again, but changed his mind as voters tell him they don't want to see the Freedom Caucus move to the Senate.
It's a former Senate president versus the state speaker of the House. So heavyweights, leadership, big influences in legislature. This is the Senate seat in the northeast corner of Wyoming, currently held by Senator Ogden Driscoll, a former Senate president. And the current House Speaker, Chip Nyman, is vying for the seat. So it's a showdown between an incumbent and a very successful House candidate who for years has been his counterpart in the House and now is going to give him a run for his own seat.
Driscoll took the first swing Thursday upon hearing of Nyman's state Senate bid, calling the Freedom Caucus long on rhetoric and short on results, prone to groupthink and clumsy. Nyman fired right back, saying Driscoll is broad-brushing him and the issues in general. A mild winter means easy living for Wyoming's big game, but it also means hard times for predators. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines reports that's because of fewer weakened animals to hunt or winter kill carcasses to devour.
If the next 4 months, like this month through June, we don't see significant amounts of moisture, that could spell trouble, because what people might not realize in the case of bears, they're really dependent on fresh green grass. They get a lot of their springtime protein you'll see grizzlies walking out into meadows and gorging themselves. Grizzlies, especially mama grizzlies with new cubs, become grazers. They eat as much or more grass than they do meat and other food sources.
During the 2022 to 2023 winter, the brutal weather killed deer, elk, and antelope by the tens of thousands. When the deep snows finally melted in the spring of 2023, landscapes were littered with big game carcasses, which was an all-you-can-eat buffet for carnivores. Wyoming State Senate President Bo Beitman announced on Thursday that he's running for the state's lone U.S. House seat. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that Beitman describes himself as a constitutional conservative.
Often lawmakers don't declare for higher office until that session is over, even while their competitors are able to campaign. It's one day after session, and Senate President Bo Beitman said, yeah, I'm running for that lone U.S. House seat in Washington, D.C. So he characterized himself as a constitutional conservative. I asked, so what parts of the Constitution does Washington, D.C. need a refresher on? He said all of it. He said that he wants to push toward a constitutional amendment that Washington, D.C., that Congress has to do single subject bills. So you can't pile lots of policy goals into a big omnibus bill, and if you don't pass it, the government shuts down. He said, Wyoming's government works really well, and I think that Congress could borrow that strategy and be a lot better off.
The 47-year-old Beitman tells Cowboy State Daily that if elected, he vows to protect Wyoming's public lands from being sold off to private buyers, and he'd like to see reform so that Wyoming could control the mineral leasing the federal government now runs, and the management of which vacillates with every presidential party change. I'll be back with more news from Cowboy State Daily right after this.
Out here, everything takes longer. The miles in between teach patience. They teach you what's worth driving for. In Wyoming, miles are how we measure love. The distance you'll go to help a neighbor, to pick up your kid from an activity, or to visit someone you care about. That's why Hilltop Bank rides with you through every mile. We're not just close by, we're traveling the same roads. Hilltop Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Cowboy State Daily News continues now. A proposed 0.75% sales tax to cover ambulance services, public transportation, and commercial air in Fremont County could land on the August primary ballot. Cowboy State Daily's Kate Meadows reports that Fremont County commissioners narrowly passed a resolution in a 3-2 vote.
For it to go to the voters in August, it needs to be approved by a majority of the county's 6 municipalities and a majority of the county commissioners. So far, county commissioners narrowly approved the measure in a 3-2 vote, and 3 of the 6 municipalities have voted for it. One municipality, Du Bois, unanimously voted against it on Wednesday. Fremont County Commissioner Chairman Larry Allen said in the most recent county commissioners meeting that we're running out of time to get this onto the August 2026 ballot. 2
remaining municipalities, Shoshone and Pavilion, have yet to vote. If the measure makes it to the August ballot and county voters approve the tax increase, the tax would take effect on January 1st of 2027. Starting July 1st, Wyoming's 18-year-olds can get permits to carry concealed firearms. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines reports an 18-year-old Riverton woman plans to do so because it will make her feel safer in sketchy places like isolated roadside gas stations.
I was able to track down an actual Wyoming 18-year-old who does want to do that. Once that option is available to her on July 1st, she wants to go get her concealed carry permit so she can start concealed carrying a handgun. And she acknowledges why some people are worried that 18-year-olds, especially 18-year-olds, like a lot of people she knows who've never been around gun, have never handled them.
Wyoming has constitutional carry, meaning people over the age of 21 can lawfully carry firearms. They may carry them concealed without a permit. That won't change. 18 to 20-year-olds will still need permits to carry concealed weapons. A new 470-page history book entitled Cowboy Soldiers has been released chronicling the Wyoming National Guard's evolution from 1870 to 1945. Cowboy State Daily's Dale Killingbeck reports that even today's Guard members are making history with recent combat missions in Syria.
People don't know they were sent to the border during the chase of Pancho Villa under General Pershing. So lots of cool stories in the book. And it coincides with some honors that were given to the Wyoming National Guard in the state budget session this year, where they were recognized for their work in Syria with the HIMARS rocket unit. So they received kudos from the Wyoming legislature this year.
Wyoming Adjutant Major General Greg Porter pointed out to legislators that the Guard's beginnings stretch all the way back before statehood and have been called on its history to serve national needs. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting that daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel or listen to us on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for watching. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.